It is Sunday. It's April 24th, 2022. I'm watching CBS this morning on Channel 2. I'm watching The Meteorologist. And I'm contemplating on this because if I was a farmer of agriculture or of livestock, and I was out tending to the animals all day, but the rainy season, the weather, the accumulation levels, all of that would be really important. This person they call in my area a meteorologist would be the most important person in that industry and field, because they're in prediction, in like a farmer's almanac kind of a way. They get information far in advance, or they're more advanced in the wizarding community of like the weather works on some magical system when theory actually crosses over to actuality and reality. So that would make, hypothetically, a meteorologist one of the most important features on this newscast, in a hyper-local way. I'm watching The Meteorologist. Yesterday he was at something called Morgan's Farm. They were talking about butterflies and they were talking about milkweed, which, again, I don't really know agriculture, like seedlings and I used to love to plant. Lewis built me boxes and I used to love, in a small setting, to plant things and then watch the calendar, watch them grow, and then harvest them, and in an organic way. That worked for a while in Cold Spring Harbor. This gentleman, though, was mentioning that today is something called Orthodox Easter. Now, that's on ortho, meaning of oral or buccal, and then DOX, docs is usually something document. So for those that can only speak, and again, that's where the word term I thought went. So those that don't have paper have word. I looked on, now today also happens to be my mother's birthday. This is America the Beautiful calendar for April 2022. And on the 24th, there it is, there's nothing in the square. And this is on the USA calendar. I then looked to Boys Town with their gardening placement, and it's April 22nd, and it's the 24th, has nothing. Easter they have as the 17th. They don't say anything about Orthodox Easter on the 24th. So I don't know if that's a religious calendar that I don't have access to. I'm not quite sure. Then I reference my dad's heraldry. I don't get anything from Ireland, so I don't have a calendar for Ireland. But this is Sons of Italy, April. And it's the 24th. Oh, what do they have? Birthday of OSIA founder Vincenzo Solaro, 1868. But I don't know what that means, because there's no in the calendar. I know in the Farmer's Almanac I got once, that Boys Town sent just recently. They sent a big package of multi-reading tools, but like a light reading. They have backstory on some things. These calendars do not have backstory in them. I checked again here. This does not have a mention of an Easter in these papers. And then there's this for the pattern of where my feet are, and when what the buildings are adorned with in this area. Now I'm going to put on the Meteorologist, and what I noticed that's frightened me is last night I made mention that if by magnet, and if, I mean, like they say that we have iron in our blood, but if and then there's talks today about a bald eagle with lead, and then they actually found it in sparrows, and robins and smaller birds. So they're thinking that it's not what they originally thought was that they're consuming lead products, but it's something else because the smaller birds had it and they don't consume, they're not carnivores. So, but if I had some kind of attractable substance like a lead magnet or something, or I don't know what's in magnets, but the word magnet is enough. They have them for the refrigerator. And then there was some kind of, they have shards of other metal. I've seen the experiment done where you put the magnet and then it starts to follow. If that's like the blood going through the spatial plane of what, like capillary, arterioles, arteries, and so on and so forth, and it's being pulled through the lumen, if all of a sudden the magnets start spinning in place, that would cause, theoretically, depending on the diameter of the lumen, or the radius of the lumen, it would cause a blockage or some type of clot. And then that would cause the human a problem, because it would disrupt the flow. What I'm picking up on the regular map that the weatherman is showing is not only is the flow in some areas, it flows in totally different directions, but then there's some spots where it's like it loses its magnetic compass completely, like almost in a movie theater kind of a way, where they show the spinning compass where the needle just keeps spinning, which they usually attribute with UFO technology, because otherwise the compass just doesn't move. It just stays where it is, if it loses contact. But if it's a hyper cell, then it would start to spin in some way. So I'm going to show what he put on this morning, because he also covers this morning out west, or more to the west, not just the East Coast. And in the West, there are specific, like I could see a differential where just in one state, it was in a cyclone, almost spinning, you call it vortex, I don't know. And then just to the left, the arrows are going in some sloppy, like uncharacteristic way, but totally different than what's to the right, which has more of a cyclone spin. Now, I don't know if these are competing theoretic models. I don't know if this is different, if they've divided the orbital science amongst major universities, or if, again, I don't know who's handling the weather, but I see really crucial and critical signs that there is problems with however it's being handled.
It'll be beautiful, but then those cooler clouds will roll in as well. Other temperatures around the area: 46 in Summit, good morning to you. 48 in Sparta, 45 in Cranberry. Again, it's location, location, location with an east flow stuck.
So in my area, it's coming this way today, but just behind his back, it turns and it's going upward. And here it's going upward as well, while this is coming this way.
In the 50s to the east and to the west, there's this kind of a stationary front, a little bit of a backdoor cold front. You're going to see warmer numbers. So
now he pans out for this east coast, and right up here, where's my pen? Right in this area, you can start to see where it pulls. And then right up here, these arrows are going into one another. These arrows seem to be clumping. There's big areas where there's absolutely nothing. But then over here, it almost looks like, if you look right here, it looks almost like a really sloppy seam, S-E-A-M, like a tailor, or a seamstress, if they're making a beautiful article of clothing. They have the most beautiful seams. I mean, it's spectacular in craft. And then there's someone who, if the hem goes on my pants, I have no idea how to sew. So if I attempted it, it looks more like this, very sloppy, because I don't have the teachings of how to keep the hem just proper. And sometimes I even just use a stapler just so they're not dangling. But again, that's out of necessity. But this sloppiness here is what's really frightening.
So, I mean, you don't have to be Barbara Streisand to hit 80 today. See what I did there? Because it's her 80th birthday. We're going to see the 80s down through D.C., Baltimore, and the 90s for parts of Virginia. So that's where the front will set up. And with that onshore flow, you will be cooler east with more clouds. Big View shows relatively quiet conditions if you're heading upstate for the holiday, or to the west. We have Orthodox Easter today.
That's where it is. Orthodox Easter, he just said.
Today, and this big view shows this low, this very potent low, pulling in the wind and the chill and the blizzard conditions. They're going to see.
Now, this is what I thought was very interesting. It's got this I don't know what this word is, but this cluster almost, or that looks very dense. And it's going in a circular motion here, but there's something that is behind his back that's differential. It changes color, and on this side, they're going in directions, but in a way that I have no arrows. There's no arrows, but it is going in these weird clusters in different ways. And again, if this is, I haven't studied the geography here that well to know what the puzzle pieces are. I just know they're 48. But I can see how this is going in this is counterclockwise direction. And then over here, it's more of like a, I don't know, is this the frictional? And friction is F-R-I-C, T-I-O-N-A-L, not FICTIONAL. Difference.
To see over half a foot of additional snow for parts of the Dakotas into Montana, and yeah, closer to the low. Winds are just going to be devastating, 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, and
This
some flood
cluster
warnings as well.
here.
Nothing like that, but we are going to see, yeah, the possibility of some showers in our mix. Not so much today. I think we're in pretty good shape. One of the models has a brief shower Monday morning. You know, might be overstated because dew points are very low. There's a lot of dry air to overcome. I think Monday is fine. Back to school, back to work, you're okay. It's Monday night where we see this front coming on board. And even though some of the model runs this morning are tending to dry it out, we're going to leave it about a 60% chance of a shower in the mix for your Tuesday. And
Here's the piece on the Eagles this morning. This is the program director, and here's the Eagle.
House.
At the Illinois Raptor Center, the goal is to get every bird back into the wild.
Good job.
Some will never leave.
She had multiple issues, but lead was one of those issues. This is a male.
Others aren't as lucky.
It's hard to see something so powerful and majestic become so weak and helpless. Just make sure there's nothing broken on
30.
That's how I felt about my grandmother. That's how I feel about myself at the moment with this with this muscle weakness that's going on, which is not characteristic of my build or of my effort.
38 bald eagles have been brought in since 2018.
We're going to check for any lead fragments.
Half have shown alarming levels of lead.
All right, come on.
8 died from lead poisoning. 3 died this March alone, including one the day before our visit. Eagles and vultures are scavengers, cleaning up what nature leaves behind. They feast on the remains left by hunters.
If there's just a little bit of that lead from that ammunition in there, that's where the eagles get it from. That's where the vultures get it from. So something is...
That's such an easy cop-out, and it's very possible. But if there's other birds experiencing this that are not carnivorous, that's an even bigger concern, because then that's crossover to, are we experiencing the same thing? Because we have other biological issues going on in our human physiology.
Small as 1 BB is enough to kill an eagle.
Yes. As far as, lead toxicity goes, yeah.
So here's the plasma samples.
Travis Wilcoxon is chairman of the biology department at nearby Millikan University, and he's on the Raptor Center board. He and Newzo decided to start testing all the birds brought in.
Some of the birds that really started to catch our eye were birds that do not scavenge. These are birds that actively hunt live prey, like the Cooper's hawk and the eastern screech owl.
We definitely see a lot of lead in these guys.
They were surprised to find that a third of the raptors they treated, like these Cooper's hawks and screech owls, showed high levels of lead. So they decided to test the birds they prey on. Like pigeons and robins, they found alarming levels of lead there too.
To us, that said, there's something in the environment that these birds are exposed to, likely in these urban settings. We're probably exposed to that too.
This might be a record for us.
Now, in New York, when you sell a house, they require in Long Island, Queens area for the potential client, it doesn't even have to be an actual client, but even a potential client has to sign a disclosure that is explained to them that since 1978, the possibility of lead may be present. They have the opportunity to test for the lead. They've been given that opportunity and have been explained that whether they want to actually do that or not.
A grim one.
Yeah, it is.
The only thing is that even as a real estate agent, they never, as a real estate board, they never, what they didn't give out on Long Island when we went for the classes or the teaching, laboratories to recommend if somebody did want. There was it's available, but again, that next step, that connection to where to recommend people to, it fell flat.
Lead's devastating impact on these birds a stark reminder of the dangers it still presents to all of us. Charlie DeMar, CBS News, Decatur, Illinois.
Now, this is the last piece that is very disturbing to me. It's about smart devices and into like simple hacks that the computer, I don't know, you call them computer whiz, W-I-Z, or like kids that know the computer and know simple coding, decoding in a computerized or screen format in like the binary whatever realm of what they've evolved into in this area. I have never taken a coding class. I don't sit at a computer screen. I don't know how to hook a network of television to like a light bulb to a remote. I have no idea how that kind of programming works. But I know that there are people who study that type of thing and that type of network, and they are able to do that fairly easy with the level of equipment and training that they've had in the local area. Where they went for that training, I have no idea. I don't know if it's their corporate, like a Verizon corporate training for their technicians. I don't know if that's like some kind of like arms National Guard, like drone training. I don't know if it's like these are the possibilities that they've thrown up on the screen through different stories. But it's really frightening as to just how many people they train on these computers and alert just how vulnerable the house networks are, making the potential for biological interference in a personalized residential energy grid to be hacked into like that, especially since I'm in such a diverse setting, multicultural, and I have no idea just how angry their cultures might be elsewhere when they want to make targets.
Well, smart devices can make home life a lot easier, but they could also open you up to security threats. CBS News' Alice Gaynor explains how even your light bulbs could leave you vulnerable.
Did you know that smart devices around your home could make you a target for a physical break-in?
Nada me olvidado.
I always had the suspicion, and maybe that is part of the reason why we have none such devices in the house. My cousin actually had her Ring camera hacked into, and they were talking to her children.
What are the newest ways hackers are getting into homes?
It definitely still boils down to
I had when one of the children were little, I had it was a baby monitor, which I thought was radio frequency, and sometimes it would broadcast transmissions of other languages, of all sorts of weird things, and I had no idea how the baby, how did they get into the frequency that's on my baby monitor? It was very strange.
Ring doorbells, door locks, and then once they're inside, things like these safes that are accessible via the network or through the internet.
Neil Bridges is Chief Content Officer with INE.com, a technology training company that offers a cybersecurity lab.
If you think about what a smart device does in your home, it can have anything from your address, your Wi-Fi password, how to lock, unlock your house or your valuables.
From LED strips to your smart light bulb, which has a circuit board inside with chips, you could be exposed.
That effectively act just like your laptop, just like the computer technology that's in your phone.
What's really scary is I've never had a laptop last. There's always some kind of viral code that enters it, it starts spinning numbers, and then it just stops working. Every single one of them. Not one of them has ever lasted. It's like some piece of junk equipment.
That look to communicate wirelessly with your wireless network so that you can control it remotely via a web browser or with your phone.
In what he describes as a brute force attack, he's running a tool that can guess a username and password in a matter of seconds. From there, it snowballs.
We've also got access to...
I don't know how to read this, and I don't know what this level of code means. I don't even know where you access this. Like, is this military grade installation? Like, do you need to know somebody at that level of importance in somebody's special category? Or does just like the regular potential murderer have access to this? Just anybody? It gets a little confusing.
So names, email addresses, we can get into their cloud storage. We have a physical address, a phone number, and an integration with Alexa.
Got your thermostat set for vacation? If hacked, they could learn when you'll be out of town. Here's how you can help try and safeguard yourself. Change the default password that came with the device. Enable multi-factor authentication. Keep your software up to date. It's easier, he says, to hack outdated technology.
How would you even know?
Those recommendations don't even make sense. And if that Nest thing over there is a temperature gauge between setting it at 68 as opposed to 76, if that's my energy scale on things like motivation and whatever, that I want to get up and get out there today and I want to just be physically active and able to interact with the environment and my children and mentally in a good frame of mind, if that's an indication of what they're able to hack into in order to interfere with the inside residential grid, and lower the effectiveness or the energy level of your human in order to get up by putting undue pressure, by setting the gravity too high that it is almost like moving. I mean, it's disgusting how it feels. It's really frightening who they allow to have access to that within my life frame.
You've been hacked.
That's the scariest part about this. There are no indicators really that you've been hacked.
So you have to have a suspicion of it, but there's no place for you to actually go to report it or for you to get findings or an analysis of any type in order to know for sure. So it's just one of these things where in your home, you talk to your mother and father, they think you're fucking crazy. And if you have a mother and father like mine, they want to put you in some hospital rather than actually helping or doing anything useful because they're that abusive.
Probably won't even know until after the incident occurs. It becomes very, very scary for a normal person to realize that the technology that they trust on a day-to-day basis can literally be used against them in their own home.
He says it comes...
If parents were technology, that's interesting. Could they be used against you? Yeah, I've seen it happen in the field, so...
comes down to being smarter about your smart device. Alice Gaynor, CBS 2 News.
Bridget says a big problem is that
It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It is Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.